Alrighty guys, hello and welcome back to the show. Today we've got a Fong specialty coming your way. So going down on Neuroxis map generator says it's a 20 by 20. I think this is actually more like 15 by 15. And let's go ahead and introduce our players. We got team 1 up at the top, team 2 down at the bottom. Going from west to east, we have a legend lore. The one and only, his legend precedes him, and the lore is what succeeds him. And he's going Cybran opening first land. To his east, we have got Darunda, who is also going Cybran opening first land. In what I believe is the rear guard air position, but we'll see how that shakes out. We've got MSG, the tastiest thing ever, that apparently is not very good for you either, but if you're like me, you don't really care. And he's going UEF opening first land. To his southeast, we've got Babel, who is building his tower of Aeon goodness down here. Actually, Aeon savagery, if I'm being real. And he's going up first land, sorry. Moving to the east, we have got Safed, who's going at UEF opening first land. And last but not least, for team number 1 going first land, we have got the one and only BJ. I do love me a good BJ, especially in the morning. Just a BJ in the morning, you know, it's a really, really great way to start off the day. Now let's go to team number 2, starting with the easternmost player. We've got Pipo Noob, and he's going Seraphim opening first land. A little bit of a peeping Tom there. Next we've got Valone, and he's going Seraphim as well, opening first land. Haven't played with Valone in quite some time. Did play a little bit with him a while back. Next we've got Adikos. Sounds like an off-brand of Adidas, but you know, take what you can get. He's going UEF opening first land. In what I believe is, again, the rear guard air position, we have the one and only Fong, host of today's game. He's going Seraphim opening first land. Moving to the north, we've got Mokola, who's going Cybran opening first land. And last but not least, for team number 2, we have Strife. And he's going Seraphim opening first land. I've got to say, the fact that we've got an idle land factory here is causing a lot of strife in my soul. But you know, we'll forgive him. Mostly because he's a player that is playing this game, and mostly also because he could probably beat me if we played one-on-one. So I'm gonna cut you some slack, man, just because you could probably destroy me if we ever played a game together. Balance at 93%, and lots of mass on this map. As far as reclaim goes, not a ton. We got about 6,000 right now. That's after probably there's been a little bit of scoopage. But not a super reclaim heavy map. We don't have 20 or 30,000 reclaim on the map, but definitely still some to take into account. We've got some Mantis aggression here from the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, with lore succeeding him. Legend lore with a Mantis, which is an equally legendary unit. Baggin' and Engineer has a mole in tow to offer some of that radar support. It looks like Pipo Noob going to be trying to respond with his commander. But I think he's going to lose another engineer back here, as the commander has given up the chase, given up the ghost. Skipped leg day, can't keep up with the Mantis, you know. Don't ever skip leg day, guys. And if you're like me, you end up with this like topsy-turvy physique where like I mountain bike and ride bikes a lot. So I've got like decently strong legs, and then I struggle doing like 20 push-ups. So it goes both ways. Don't know why I felt the need to share that, but you know, you guys got to see it. We got Strife batting down some early aggression there out from BJ. This Mantis is still alive. Looks like he's going to pick himself up a Tech 1 Mass Extractor. Not the worst thing in the world. Probably would have been a little bit better for that Mantis to continue on his westerly trajectory. Pick up some of those engineers there from Pipo Noob. Every time you say that, you can't just say Pipo Noob, you have to say Pipo Noob. Probably would have been better off, though, bagging some of the engineers there to the west, but who am I to judge? I'm just a backseat gamer. It's literally all we casters are. Any caster that you ever see, me, Willow, Function, Acid Vash, all of us, Andrani, we're all just backseat gamers. It's great. We can just sit up here and be like, oh, well, that's a questionable decision, and then we can't play any better, so... That is that's pretty much the gist of it, as we got 2 commanders from team number 1 converging on this middle position, a couple of other commanders here from team number 2 also converging on this middle position. Not a whole lot of reclaim that shows up on the reclaim calculator, but lots of trees that might be worth actually controlling this position. And we do have Safed as well coming in from the eastern side of the map. And MSG actually playing very aggressively, much like the way MSG tastes in a dish. It's a very aggressive taste. It tastes really good. I like it. But MSG living up to his name, playing really, really aggressively, standing out from the dish that is team number 1, making himself known, advancing forward. Fong, the health conscious guy that he is, not putting up with that even in the slightest. It's going to get up there. Maybe it's some of our first comm on comm action here. As Mukola making his way over towards the east as well to help out. This is going to force MSG back. Fong looks like trying to go for like a factory block. Really, really cheeky play right there. But in the background, we do have Babel, who is, well, he's actually paused right now, but he had started a gun upgrade. Gun upgrade could be exactly what MSG needs right now to be able to make sure that he can maintain control of this forward little canyon, but not going to be coming anytime soon. Also have a gun speed and range upgrade on the way for Darunda as we zoom out to look at other comm upgrades that are in the area. It doesn't look like anybody else has gone for any early aggression comm upgrades. We do have Tech 2 now on the way for the man, the myth, the legend, with the lore succeeding him, sorry. Legend lore on the eastern side of the map. A lot of forward manufacturing there for that Cybern player. Definitely going for more of a Tech 1 heavy build. But MSG going to be able to back himself off, extricate himself from a dicey situation with Fong and Mukola. 2-on-1's never a good situation in any way, shape, or form. I don't care what people tell you about the various belts that they've won or adventures that they've had in a room in the house. It's not a good time. The logistics alone, like, never done it, but the logistics alone, like, that just feels like a nightmare. You've got 4 of a lot of things, 2 of other things. Just a lot of things to deal with, and I can't even deal with ecoing my base correctly while upgrading to different tech levels and making sure my commander doesn't die. How am I going to deal with 4 of a lot of the things in that room that shall be left anonymous, and 2 of other things that whenever I only have 1? All right. That joke's played itself out. All right, Adiko's going for gun upgrade. We do have Babel just now finishing his duo gun upgrade here with gun speed coming in at 75%. And now we've got Valone going for his own gun speed and range, I'm going to assume, starting off with the range upgrade. Down here at the south, Pipu Noob does have a gun upgrade of his own that we didn't call out earlier, but he's going to be pressuring forward with that one. Tech 2 is up here for the man, the myth, the legend, with the lore succeeding him. And he's gone for some Tech 1 point defense that's going to be promptly overcharged down here by Pipu Noob. Pipu Noob with a relatively healthy Tech 1 land presence as well to give his comm a little bit of support. Good moves from him overall. That's going to be another Tech 1 point defense going down. And I think Pipu Noob can force his way in here at his discretion. Meanwhile, slightly to the east, we have the exact opposite happening as Valone losing some of his forward manufacturing to Darunda's comm upgrade. Valone just now finishing his gun upgrade. Apologies, earlier I said that he was going for half of a gun upgrade. He is going for the Seraphim, so he's getting both gun speed and range as comm on comm action now ensues. Adikos moving in from the east, to support. Overall, with 2 comms on 1 here, I think the Team 2 are going to be relatively happy with this exchange. As up in the north, Pipu Noob still pushing in, but Cerberus turret there from Legend lore able to bat his comm away. And actually, it looks like we've got Darunda making a westwardly motion. Westward ho, son. As he thinks better of it and decides to go back and potentially commit here onto Valone. Valone's commander not looking super healthy, although Darunda starting to shed hit points at an alarming rate. This could be our first ejection from the game as Darunda commits, and Valone running out of options here. unless Darunda blocks his commander with his own units, which I think is what happened here. Valone gonna escape with a sliver of HP there, and now it's Darunda who is in trouble. As Tech 1 point defense has been spammed up, we've got a gun comm here from a Dekos bearing down on his position. This is looking real bad for our Sovereign commander here, as he is the first ejection from this game. And you get out on that branch a little bit too far, and that branch just snaps right under you. I know from experience. I fell out of a tree whenever I was little. That is probably why I am the way I am today. Full share is on. Fong hosts all of his games with full share, as Legend Lore now shifts his attention back to... Or I'm sorry, Pipu Noob shifts his attention back towards Legend Lore's position. Legend Lore with Tech 2 point defense, as well as a healthy amount of Tech 1 bombers. Drop Pipu Noob into the yellow there. Not in a whole lot of danger just yet. We'll check back on that in a second. As to the east, we have big pressure now coming in from Safed. And Mukola with Butta Vanilla Commander here. The only thing that can stop this storm. Safed with both gun and nano, so proper combat comm being brought to bear here against Mukola. And with only 2 Cerberus in the background there for Mukola, it's going to be a tall order for him to hold this line. Tech 1 continues streaming in here from Safed, but Safed I think just walks him down, just ignores the Cerberus. That comm can't go anywhere. Does have Tech 2 on the field as well, so some pillars making themselves known here to sponge up some of that damage, or as much of that damage as they can. But I think ejection number 2 coming our way now as Mukola drops into the red. Legend Lore shrugging off these Cerberus turrets with that nano upgrade. Going for blood, going for the gold. Mukola is out. Safed, though, does have a rough situation to extricate himself from, as Strife has now looped in behind him with a lot of Tech 1 units. And Safed now at 8,500 HP, going to start taking a hefty amount of fire from these Tech 1 units here from Strife, as well as the artillery, already down below 7,000. But Strife going for a Shift G here. Not sure that's the correct play, as that's just going to give a lot of overcharge potential here to Safed. As Strife does have Tech 2 units in the vicinity. I think Safed makes it out of this just fine. He's got Tech 2 on the way. Be able to help deal with this situation. And that, with the cheap nano that the UEF gets, he's not going to drop below 6,000 HP. He'll be just fine. Just fine. Just fine. As Mukola's base now transitions over to Fong, and we have Tech 3 Air out on the field for the one, the only, the Salty Goodness MSG. Using that UEF Tech 3 first ASF out onto the field. Now, it looks like Fong actually going for a snipe attempt here. We do have Nathas. There is flak, though. We got a couple of Skyboxers here. And Nathas, I think, didn't have vision of the commander, so didn't target and sent them on a little bit more of a scouting raid, and that put them in a really awkward position here as ASFs from MSG, as well as the Skyboxers from Safed, going to be able to knock those bad boys out of the sky. And MSG should be able to deal with the rest of Fong's air presence. How's Fong doing on air? So Fong is up at Tech 3 Air, working on his Tech 3 P gen right now. So no Tech 3 Air as of yet for team number 2 that I can see, at least. So you got to look at this and think that team 1 is in a pretty good position right now. They got Tech 3 Air. They're holding / pushing on all flanks, and they are matching eco. Team 2 is up very, very slightly. But if you had to pick right now, I would prefer to be in team 1's position. Matching eco while being able to pressure and destroy your enemy's eco. That is the FAF player's dream right there. As Fong scrambling to get some point defense up to deal with these pillars that are now encroaching on the base that he inherited from Mukola. Is going to be able to do that. On the other side of the map, though, Valone pushing very aggressively here. Does have gun and nano of his own with that Seraphim nano. Seraphim nano on another level compared to UEF nano. I think it doubles the amount of HP that you regen. And he does have support here from Pipu Noob, who does have a Tech 2 as well as a gun upgrade. And you can see Valone really just able to shrug off all of this damage that's coming in from Tech 1 units. But either way, showing some respect for his opponents here. And it looks like MSG is going to take this opportunity to do a little bit of a run by. We do have Tech 1 point defense here to help deal with a little bit of it. But it looks like Pipu Noob's base going to be in a little bit of trouble as we go back to the other side. And Safed with that early aggression. Not really early aggression. I guess it's 15 minutes into the game. Taking out a couple of mexes. Fong now moving his commander to deal with this. Fong working with only a vanilla commander, though. Can't stand toe-to-toe with Safed for too long. Needs to bank on these point defense doing some work back here, as well as the Tech 3 units that you see up on the north. Those are out from Adikos, who is now starting to spam some Titans out into the field. I think between the Titans as well as the point defense and Fong's commander being here, Safed going to cut his losses, move back, live to fight another day. As Valone, actually, I said earlier he was shrugging off this damage, but he's taking a little bit of a pounding here. Should be able to extricate himself, though, as the Cerberus point defense do not move, and the Tech 1 units should be able to be dealt with relatively easily by his commander, and that run-by attempt from MSG was dealt with by a couple of Ilshis, as well as, I believe, a hastily assembled point defense. A couple of hastily assembled point defense. So that is the state of the game. From a tech perspective, we got Tech 3 Air out for team number 1, and Tech 3 Land out from team number 2. We do have Tech 3 Air now out from Fong. I'm going to do a quick look and see what the Tech 3 Land... Oh, hello, we got Mercies being built. Okay, that's going to be interesting. We'll come back to that one later. But I'm not seeing... There we go. Okay, so there's some Tech 3 Land out from the lovely, salty, delicious goodness MSG. Getting some Tech 3 Land up of the Cybran variety. Safed looking to pick a different fight now that can't necessarily push quite as hard in the middle. Strife with gun and Tech 2. But no nano, so you got to give the edge to Safed here in a com-on-com engagement. Otham's now showing up, though, for Strife. Can be overcharged down by Safed, and that's what you see him doing right there. Blaps that Otham right out of existence. And now Safed needs to just walk down Strife. Do as much damage as he can. Throwing out some overcharges to deal with the Tech 3 Land that is coming in. See how confident he feels. And we saw Mercies earlier. Not sure if Babel is paying attention to what's going on down here. I mean, actually, Safed might not even need it, as another Otham goes down to an overcharge. And Strife actually just going to bow out of the game there. Realizes there's nothing more he can do. Gives his base over to Pipu Noob. Moves on with his life. Mercies are now being sent out, though. Only 2 of them. And they're going to get shot down by AA. So, good effort. Not going to materialize to anything, as every Mercy snipe ever should. If you've ever been sniped by Mercies, it is just a very demoralizing way to lose. At least I think it is. Either way, Safed not looking to let the aggression up even in the slightest. Now moving into Strife's base to do what he did to Mukola's base earlier. And that is going to be a lot of factories going down. Tech 3 Land HQ under threat. Fong has inherited, or has Tech 3 HQ of his own, is cranking out some loyalists, so looking to do some damage here. And Safed potentially donating mass here. Needs to get some of these mexes killed in order to make this worth it, or the Tech 3 Land HQ. But it's going to be hard for his units to stand up to the Loyalists without his comm there overcharging. And I think he's going to get the land HQ if he just keeps his commander around here. He does get a mechs down here as well. As well as a lot of power, so probably a worthwhile push. Enough infrastructure has been damaged there to make it worth it. As over on the other side, Valone continuing to push. Valone been super ballsy with his commander. Man has titanium balls. Either that or more of them. Remember how he said that there were 2 of most things, or 2 of some things and 4 of others? That man has 4 balls. So he's okay losing 2 of them. As the man, the myth, the legend with the lore succeeding him now has mobile missile launchers out. And some fire basing action going down here on the eastern side of the map with Pipu Noob trying to get a shield down as quickly as he can. Does have Tech 3 land on the field. So got some Authams. I'm not sure what Legend Lore's tech situation looks like. So he's just now making the jump to Tech 3 land. So Pipu Noob has a little bit of an opportunity here, I think, to make some stuff happen. Get these Authams in range of this shield. There's only 2 Cerberus, and Cerberus aren't that great at. Like, they have a really high fire rate. They're great at tech. They're great at dealing with Tech 1, but I think overall damage per second they lose out to some of the other point defense. Can't remember though off the top of my head. A long time ago, somebody asked me to do a science video on point defense. I probably should, because there's some interesting things around splash damage and AoE within point defense that you can use and abuse in fire basing battles. I kind of hate the mechanics that you can abuse, but they are worth talking about in a science video. As we get to 20 minutes into the game, Valone continuing to use all of his balls to drop them right into Legend Lore's face. And Legend Lore, I think, focusing more on keeping himself alive down here on the southern side. As the Authams now getting employed for frontline combat. There are actually more Cerberus here than I thought initially, and that with the commander as well as the supporting units. Gonna mean that these Authams able to take out some of the mobile missile launchers as well as both the shield generators. So, all right, I see it. It's worth it, potentially. I don't know. I'd be pretty happy with that exchange. As we now have a pretty sizable loyalist push now coming in from MSG onto Valone's base. Valone's commander trying to keep up, but again, Valone, just like his buddy down there, skipped leg day. Not going to be able to keep up with these loyalists. Luckily, he does have point defense there in the back line. This point defense is going to be able to mop up a couple of more loyalists, and Tech 1 bombers might be the choice for the rest of it. Titans now in pursuit from Adikos, putting on their off-brand Adidas to go run after some Bernies, this guy all calls them. That with the bombers actually doing some pretty good work here. A lot of these loyalists are now starting to get pretty low. Are doing some damage though. It's 4 mexes down. Point defense being scrambled up there by Valone. And you also have to look at this from a stance of not just what these loyalists kill, but what kind of response they force. So, you know, these loyalists they've killed, this is going to be the 7th mechs, I believe, because we got a 6th one right there. And, okay, maybe not actually going to kill that one, which is a bummer, because that one's upgrading to Tech 3. Oh, no, it's not. It's paused. Same with this one. As the last loyalist is going to go down. But whenever you look at these kinds of exchanges, you also need to look at not only what you kill from an eco perspective, but you also need to look at what kind of response you forced out. So, you know, forcing out the building of 4 PD grids here, as well as having him rebuild mexes and stuff like that. I think at the end of the day, it becomes down to a relatively good trade there for MSG. As this is a very rough situation to deal with, this Cybran, with the sniper bots now out here from Bipunoob, shielding them as well with the lightning tanks. So air's not a very, very good strategy either. This is rough to deal with. And on the eastern side of the map, we got Tech 3 as well as Safed, who is still up here with his commander, fighting it out. 5 stars of veterancy on that bad boy. He is just playing absolutely with no fear right now. Not no fear the player, as in like the guy who knows fear, because that's how he spells his name, but no fear as in he does not know fear with his commander. And I feel like Fong should have punished this, and that might be what Fong's getting ready to do right now, as we got a lot of Nathas up. Safed with, what does the AA situation look like here? Looks like a lot of Tech 1 mobile AA. I'm not seeing any flak in this mix, and I think that's what Fong is scouting for right now. And right as though those units fly over, I start to see all of the flak. So there's quite a bit out from Babel. The icons on the dark red look a little bit smaller, a little bit more difficult to read. But either way, Strife's old base gonna be taken down. I'm very curious if Strife is a fan of Trivium, the band. Trivium has a song called Strife that's really good, as we have a Monkey Lord now pushing in from Legend Lore. So that's one way to deal with this kind of pressure. Just get an experimental and ram it down your opponent's face. Again, in this instance, you only need one Monkey Lord because there's only one mouth here that would be rammed down, just in case you guys are keeping track of appendages. Oh boy. But Natha is actually not going for the snipe there. Well, Safed took some damage, but wasn't enough to kill him. That's going to give MSG a chance to bring his ASFs in. And gets a pretty good turn there on Fong's ASF as well. Had a great turn. Oh, that was a rough one. Okay, pulled it out. MSG, though, also paying attention to a lot of different things on the map right now, so think he's going to end up losing this air fight. Fong is going to maintain air control. Fong also starting to crank out bricks from his main base. And remember earlier how we were saying that Team 1 has had all the aggression and we're keeping up in eco. Team 1 still has all the aggression, except now they're leading in eco by about 30k. So still a good spot to be if you're a fan of any of the players on Team 1. Which I don't think any of these players are good enough to have quote-unquote fans. But aggression still coming from Team 1, and they're using inferior tech, just kind of ramming it into the bricks here from Fong. And Safed needs to start thinking about getting some more Percivals in his mix. He does have a few, but in the face of this amount of bricks, as we've got 8 or so bricks here from Fong, it's going to be a tall order for the amount of Percivals that Safed has here on the front line to be able to hold it, as well as all the loyalists that are down here in the south, and even some Percivals coming out from a Decos, helping his buddy out, taking those imitation Adidas, trying to sell them on the black market, make as much money as he possibly could. And Titans now coming out from Safed, but Titans versus Bricks and Percivals is a story we've seen several times, and it does not end very well. Fong's going to be able to clean that up with the help of a Decos, and If you look back in the back line here, there is not a whole lot as far as defensive emplacements right now. Looks like Safed is reorganizing his troops to form another line, and Safed's commander starting to look a little bit exposed here. Does have gun, does have nano, does have a good amount of overcharge. BJ also has gun, nano, and I would imagine some good overcharge. So take a look at that. Oh yeah, BJ's got a lot of overcharge. BJ is ready to overcharge. I didn't even mean that one on purpose. Anyway, Monkey Lord from Legend Lord that we saw earlier, eviscerate this firebase. Now got its now has its sights set on Valone. Right about the time I figured out how to say that sentence, Legend Lord, the man, the myth, the legend with the lore succeeding him, has decided to move back. So that's about how it works whenever you're a caster, is right whenever you figure out how to say something, something changes in the game. Especially with players that are pretty good, which pretty much everybody in this game is at least a solid player. Safed, I think, donating some units here. Yeah, doesn't have enough of the tech to be able to take these engagements. And you can see Fong back here following his army with engineers, making sure he cleans up after himself. Remember how important that was in the last cast that we saw. Safed now bringing his commander out to handle this situation himself. He just gets absolutely pegged by a torrent of brick and other fire, and that is a nuke that is out from the lovely, delicious, salty goodness that is MSG. That is going after Fong's base down here, the air grid. There is no SMD here, but that is going to be Safed going down. I believe it was Safed, maybe it was BJ. I got distracted by the nuke. BJ is still alive, but he is taking heavy fire. And I think he's going to go down as well. Throws out some overcharges, but gets a nice rank of veterancy as well. That nuke is going to land, as you can see there on the mini-map. BJ is going to go down while Fong loses his entire air grid. Okay. 30 minutes into the game. Lots happening. All right, let's take a step back, take stock of where we are. Fong has lost his air grid. I don't think any other players are Tech 3 air. No, we have no other players that are Tech 3 air at this point. So that means MSG needs to clean up Fong's Air Force and then can have a field day in air for the next 3 to 4 minutes or so. I think Fong also lost his entire power grid. Check. Yeah. Lots of power gone for him. And then on the flip side, team number 1 lost 2 players, but team number 1 is working with the advantage of full share. But I'll tell you what they're not working with an advantage of is experimentals at this point, as this Ithoda about to come storming down Legend Lore's lane here. Just have a lot of Cerberus that are pumping in as much damage as they can. And that is a lot of loyalists out from the delicious salty goodness himself. Is that enough to be able to deal with this Ithoda? I think the last bit of point defense there is going down. The Ithoda rotating here starts shifting its fire towards the loyalists that are kind of dropping like flies here because there are a good amount of Othams and sniper bots sitting in the back line. It's a little hard to play Cybran against sniper bots without using any stealth, and the loyalists are going to go down in flames there, the beautiful flames that they are. I can't remember if they completely removed Loyalist EMP or if they just stopped it from affecting experimentals. I think they just stopped it from affecting experimentals. But now with the door wide open here, Pipu Noob feeling pretty confident about himself. Starting to move that Ithoda with the supporting army in, drawing a lot of factories in back behind it. I'm not sure if those are reclaim factories or Zooey factories. Probably a little bit of both to grab up some of this reclaim. Just take stock of the reclaim here. We've got 52,000 reclaim here between this monkey wreck as well as all the loyalists that MSG used to try and stop this chicken. Brick is doing its best to hang on, and legend lore, the man, the myth, the legend with the lore succeeding him, doing his best to hang on here, but all he can really do is spam up point defense. Doesn't have enough infrastructure for an army to be able to stop this, and legend lore is in trouble. His commander is over here, just gives everything over to MSG. We do have a nuke out, and that is on its way towards Beepu Noob's base. Does have an SMD. SMD is not loaded though. He is putting all assistance on this nuke, or on this SMD. And nuke is gonna get there. SMD. Is it gonna load? It is not gonna load. That was about as close as it gets. So that's going to be Beepu Noob losing a lot of his core eco as well. But I can't say I feel like it's really made that much of an effect, as Fong continuing to pressure real hard on the east here. Got a lot of loyalists as well as some bricks. He's got AA as well to deal with any gunships that pop up. And Beepu Noob with that pressure earlier on, Monkey Lord from MSG going to try and do what it can, but that Monkey Lord not going to be able to stand up to a 4-rank vet Ithoda, which is what Beepu Noob is slinging around on this map right now. Like a big dick in a locker room, as the chicken making its way now into Tech 3 Land HQ. This is MSG's Land HQ, inherited from Darunda, I believe. And I don't see that staying in this world very long either, as the Ithoda claims another kill. And if we look at a lot of these sniper bots, a lot of them are working with 5 ranks of veterancy as well, as Adikos builds a Fat Boy there in the middle, and I think another one just finished in his base. Experimental is starting to get thrown around like candy here, and that is going to be Babel going out. I think he just gave up. I didn't see any strats or anything like that on the mini-map, so I think Babel is bowing out, and Legend Lore gave his base over, so that really means MSG is now a one-man salty goodness show at this point. He's got a lot of broadswords here. They should be able to deal with the Ithoda. As we know, Fong's air production was heavily crippled earlier, but MSG now needs to play a game of priorities here. This Ithoda obviously top priority, followed by probably this land army that is streaming in, but has to give some respect here to Fong's bricks on the eastern side of the map, as they are just absolutely massacring innocent civilians, as well as taking out factories. They are taking jobs away from citizens. Like, oh my god, Fong is just a terrible, terrible person. He's looking to not only massacre innocent civilians, but also destroy whatever industry could possibly turn into a prosperous economy in the future. And Adikos is no better, as Percival's now walking in, taking out some mexes here for MSG. And MSG, I think there's just a little bit too much for him to deal with. Even though this was full share, the infrastructure that he inherited, I just don't think was in a good enough spot for him to be able to respond to this amount of land pressure from as many fronts as he had to respond to it from. The nukes were really, really good. Broadsword's going to be able to do some good work here. There is flak in this mix, but flak not going to be able to dish out the amount of damage quickly enough. This is a lot of broadswords. That Fat Boy is ultra dead. MSG with his own Fat Boy here, trying to hold the line. Adikos, though, with another one pushing up. MSG just finishes another Fat Boy, actually. So that's 2 Fat Boys for him. I guess that's what happens whenever you eat MSG. You turn into a Fat Boy. But it's okay, because it tastes good. And I love it. I also love the references I can make here. MSG is a salt, right? It's like some sort of like salt seasoning kind of thing. I don't know. All I see is like there's no MSG in this advertised all over the place, and immediately something without MSG just tastes worse than whatever it is. It's like gluten. Like, I don't know what gluten is, but I know that I love it. Because everything without gluten just does not taste good. That's another nuke there out from MSG. This time going after Adikos' base. Adikos, though, does have a loaded SMD here, so that nuke gonna get shot down. And broadswords over on the eastern side of the map. Now starting to run out of HP. There's been flak with just about every army that they've responded to. And that flak and the AoE there has just kind of been gradually wearing these broadswords down, even though the broadswords have been able to mop up a lot of these land forces. You can see a lot of them very heavily damaged here. And new broadswords not able to be scrambled in time to replace what MSG is losing. As Legend Lore actually still exists in this game. He's going for Tech 1 land factories to make engineers. He is on, I don't know how much mass per tick, but judging by the speed of this engineer being produced, not very much. So I'm going to guess 1. And that is a rough position to play the game in. Like, thinking like, okay, the game's over. I'm gonna give my base over to somebody else. Finding out the game's not actually over, and then trying anyway and trying to exist on reclaim, which is what I think he's trying to do. It's a rough position to be in. It's a spot that I've played before. I actually had F Odin like just essentially dragged me kicking and screaming to victory one game whenever I was in a very similar position to Legend Lore. But I was also, I think, like a 600. Yeah, I was like a 600, and I joined a game with like Blackheart and F Odin and Tagada, and I had no idea who any of these people were, and I was like, wow, those are big numbers. I'm sure I can do okay. I didn't do okay. I lost my entire base within like the first 5 minutes. Granted, my entire base was like 2 factories, 4 power generators, and 4 mexes. But hey, it was a base. It wasn't much, but it was mine. They took it from me. Speaking of taking things from people, is Legend Lore, I think, about to lose his life here. This fat boy from Adikos bearing down on him. There are broadswords here to be able to respond. MSG working with, I think, 4 fat boys now. But fat boys now have a very, very tall order. As if you zoom out and just look at the streams of units that are coming towards his base, he is essentially playing survival at this point. As the fat boy from Adikos is going to go down, I'm going to bump the speed up just a hint, just a tinge. As MSG loses pretty much his entire base here. So the only thing he has are a bunch of fat boys without shields, and that is an Awasa now out from Valone. Gonna hit MSG's calm. Not gonna be able to one-shot him because he's got shield. Not quite sure what just exploded there, but something did. I don't think it was a comm. Oh no, that was Legend Lore's commander. I'm sure just about out of the game, and MSG is soon to follow. Oh, I'm sweaty after that game. That was a good game. Desync, don't care. Game's over. Anyway, guys, that's about it from me today. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And not a whole lot else to say, but I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.